The Rattler. Since everything is bigger in Texas, Fiesta Texas, before it was bought by Six Flags, opened the tallest wooden roller coaster in the world, in the Rattler. This offered a 166-foot drop, unique interactions with the coil wall, and a slow bit to rattle you around. And when I finally rode this coaster, I loved it. Find out why in this review. Fiesta Texas opened in 1992 with just 2 operating roller coasters. The kiddie coaster, originally called the Rollshoe Coaster, though this is disputed as the name Pied Piper is listed for this time period as well, and the wooden roller coaster, the Rattler. Now, Fiesta Texas is known for its roller coasters and thrill rides, but when it opened, it was much more invested in the various shows that it had. Despite still having a large number of theaters to have a variety of shows in to this very day, some theaters have been replaced. The Sundance Theater was replaced in 2022 with Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger Dive, and the Loop Drive-In was replaced in 1998 with Scream. Having quality shows would always be a staple for Fiesta Texas, especially as they have the nearby SeaWorld San Antonio to compete with. So this focus is understandable. Parks also didn't have to have a massive number of roller coasters back in the day, as one solid coaster, while not great, was enough to have something for thrill seekers to do. SeaWorld San Antonio, for instance, had no coasters until adding just 2 thrill coasters in the late 1990s. Even Six Flags' massive expansion of the coasters in the late 1990s at Fiesta Texas, after purchasing the park in 1996, would only bring the park's coaster count to a total of 7. The Rattler was made by the Roller Coaster Corporation of America, which only built 5 wooden roller coasters, 3 of which are still operating today. Coaster Express at Parque Warner Madrid is known for being one of the worst roller coasters in the world, between its rough layout and a T-shaped restraint that sits between your legs. Bandon at Movie Park Germany has also been labeled rough by many, though it seems to be not as bad as Coaster Express. As for the Rattler, as the name suggests, it rattled you around. But for me, I loved this gimmick, as the trains were comfortable enough for me to enjoy being thrown about, and to this day, I still can enjoy Roughness as a gimmick. On Mind Blower at Fun Spot Kissimmee, for instance, or appreciating the roughness of kiddie coasters like Fort Yesterland or Runaway Mine Train. The Rattler was not a smooth ride, but I remember coming off shaking so much from the experience, and running down the exit so that I could get back in line and ride again and again and again. However, many coaster fans don't like shakiness and roughness as a gimmick, like I do. So, very understandably, after the success of RMC's conversion of the Texas Giant into the new Texas Giant, Six Flags looked for other wooden roller coasters they could convert, with the Rattler being a prime candidate. Six Flags closed the Rattler on August 5th, 2012, before reopening it as Iron Rattler on May 25th, 2013. And although a simple Rocky Mountain construction creation, the Iron Rattler does receive enough praise to easily be a top 25 roller coaster in the world, and, for those special enthusiasts out there, can claim that number 1 spot. After having a small pre-lift section that seemed to offer mild laterals, not sure if it was as good as the Iron Rattler is in this section, as the Iron Rattler has nice laterals here, but it seems to be a fine section to whet one's appetite for this coaster. The Rattler went up its record-setting lift hill. With the quarry wall right next to it, this didn't seem to be as high as you could look rightwards towards the golf course, as you still can on the Iron Rattler to this day, which makes this one of my favorite lift hills in the world. The first drop was quickly reprofiled as the record-setting drop seemed to put too many positive G's on people. So for much of its life, and the condition that I rode it in, the Rattler had only a 124-foot drop. This isn't crazy, but for a kid getting used to riding bigger coasters, it was at least something that I could really enjoy. After I finally got over my fear and sensitivity to drops on roller coasters, which did take a very, very long time for me to do, then the Rattler went into its large elements, which mainly just included a large turnaround that had a slower section on top of the hill, and a long, not too steep turning drop. Next, there was a long climb up to the top of the quarry wall. Off-ride, you can notice the swaying if you watched closely. You seem to have just enough speed to crest the top of this hill into the quarry wall elements. Then, my favorite part of the Rattler was the snake coil section on top, as you wound around 3 loops in what seemed to me to be a giant snake coil on top of the quarry wall. This section only offered mild drops and turns, akin to family coasters like Mayan Mindbender and Accelerate at Astroworld that were my favorite growing up. But this combined with the strong shaking of this coaster offered a really fun sequence of elements. The first loop mainly offered a large turn without too many drops, and the next offered more minor drops as you bounced up and down a bit more while completing the circle, and the third rung continued this theme in a similar vein. Then, you braked harshly before the drop off the cliff, which, given how the Iron Rattler treats this drop, seems kind of unfortunate. The drop off the quarry wall was shallow, but turned, so likely offered mild laterals before going into the tunnel. The benefit of a lower speed, though, was that you still had a little bit more time to truly enjoy being in that tunnel. After which, you had a final turnaround that contained a small drop, a slow and high turnaround, and then one final drop to the lift hill structure that popped you back into the brake run. Iron Rattler did follow the original layout fairly closely, but does not have this extra part to bleed off speed, which I feel is very unfortunate, as it helps make the Rattler feel like a complete coaster. Overall, how good was the Rattler? The best roller coaster in the world. At the time I rode it, it was my overall favorite coaster, and the perfect roller coaster for me, as it blended larger elements with nice helixes and smaller drops, making for everything that I could want in a coaster. Still, to this day, I ride roller coasters searching for that wonderful mix of feelings that I had while riding the Rattler, as I'm hesitant to say that any coaster has topped my love for it, especially as much as I loved it in that moment of riding it again and again and again. The decent drop, combined with how much this coaster rattled me through mild elements, was purely magical. Today, I find some of these smaller turns on coasters a little bit more boring, as they don't do much. So likely, if I could rewrite the Rattler today, I'd really enjoy its power and elements and gimmicks, and it would have a special place in my heart, but it might not be the most impressive thing that I've ever ridden. But all I can go from is my memory, since I'll never be able to ride it again. And in my memory, this coaster was purely excellent. What are your thoughts on the Rattler at Fiesta Texas? Did it do enough to be an impressive coaster, or was it too rough for your tastes? Let me know, and, as always, Kapkun Krap.